Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we are talking to Ernest Young Sr. about his book, Love, Patience, and Admiration Heals All Wounds. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Ernest. Thank you so much for joining me on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. Now, before we get started, as is tradition here on the show, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to our listening audience. So the first question for you is, what makes you you?
Well, I'm a person that I believe in sharing things with people, and I believe in just being around people and telling the truth about everything. That would make me, just being myself.
Now, being an author, is that something that you always wanted to do, or did you find that life simply presented this opportunity along your path?
Well, I never thought of being an author, but I kept having stories that need to be told, and they're true stories. So, and seems like my whole path was about something that was very interesting. So why not share with the world and the things that can help others in this world?
I can definitely understand that. I am the type of person who likes to share the information that I have learned as well, so I definitely understand you there. Now, the title of your book, why did you choose Love, Patience, and Admiration Heals All Wounds? Why did you choose those words to entitle your book?
Well, I was thinking about a title. I was searching around for a title, and I didn't have one when I was writing it, but I thought about something. The most important word on earth, on this whole planet, is love. It's the strongest word. And then one has to have patience to survive this world. And then admiration. I always admired my God, my God Almighty. So admiration for Him. And when I put those together, it's a healing virtue thing that I do, and it heals me and heals my soul. So love was very important. It's a very strong word. You have to have patience, and you have to admire the greatest person that's ever been here, and is still here. And then you have to put that together, and it heals your soul.
I like that explanation. I do. So my next question for you is dealing with your inspiration. Did you have a particular thing that inspired you to start writing? Was there anything that really sparked you where you felt like, I need to get this in the form of a book so that others can know this as well? Did you have any particular inspiration?
Well, what inspired me that the admiration and the patience that I had to have to make it through this life. That's really what inspired me. And if you read my book, you're going to see all of the stories in the book are actually true stories. Everything happened exactly as it is, as I tell it. And I didn't change anything. So it's going to inspire you. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you laugh. It's going to make you feel great about a person, and it'll give you inspiration to do something like this. And I've inspired other writers to write. They've called me and told me this. That they're writing because of my book, what they read in my book.
Now, did you have a particular audience in mind when you were putting the book together? I know that sometimes an author will say, well, I wanted to make sure that I was able to reach, someone as young as teens, or someone else may say that, I was writing this with a Christian undertone because I wanted to share my own, spiritual walk. Did you have a particular audience or a particular reader in mind when you were putting your book together?
Well, I wanted to reach every soul in the world. So I had to be real careful how I wrote the book. So I made it very savvy that even a 9-year-old can read it. And then a 70-year-old can read it, or 80-year-old, or 100-year-old person can read it. So I tried to make sure that I use the words and the terminology that everyone, anyone that wants to read this book, get this book.
I can definitely understand that. Now, when you were putting the book together, did you have the conversation with self that went a little something like, do I self-publish this or do I use a publishing company? And if you had that conversation with yourself, which way did you decide to go and why?
Well, I used a publisher. I used a publisher for the book, and I decided to go that way because they were more, equipped to do it and get it back, get it back in the right way. I could have did some things, but I thought that it was more professional to let them do it because that was my first book, and I wanted to make sure that I got it right.
Absolutely, and I can definitely understand and it's quite interesting that you say that because I found that that's how a lot of authors feel. They say it's my first book, I want to get it right, or I simply had no experience in this before, and who wants to drop the ball their first time out? So why not let the professionals do it? So I definitely understand you on that end. Now, this is a Faith Talk Radio programming here that we have. So with that being said, I want to ask you about how your faith may have played a part in how you shared your stories. Do you think that you included those faith aspects of your life as well as part of the base for your stories?
Sure. When you really look at it, every story that was told in my book had faith in it. And it always ended, I would always tell you, if you look at something that you think happened bad to you, always look real hard and look a little bit harder and a little bit deeper, and you'll see the light in the middle of it that's going to shine. It's going to overshine the things that you did not like. So, faith and my belief in faith is everything in this book. And if you read the book, you'll see all through the book how I forgave things that happened and how I believe that in the end, everything was going to be great. And you're going to be able to see this in the book. And these are true stories. And it did happen that way. I gave all the credit to my Lord and Savior.
Absolutely. Well, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, Ernest, could you please remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, you can, the title of the book is Love patience, and admiration heals all wounds. And you can always go to Amazon and get it, Amazon.com. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You also can get it at Ex-Libris. You can get it there. And then you can, you can check my email out, and I can talk to you there on it. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Ernest Young Sr., and we are talking about his book, Love, Patience, and Admiration Heals All Wounds. Now, my next question for you, Ernest, is you have shared some parts of your personal life in the story. How did you determine which stories you wanted to, or which parts of your life you wanted to include in the story? Sometimes you have to worry about sharing the right amount without sharing too much or without sharing too little. How did you determine to what degree you wanted to share of your own personal stories?
Well, I determined it by the one that meant the most to me. And there was one segment in that story that really stuck with me, and it was the beginning of the story, and it stuck with me a long time, and it's still here. And it's in my story, and it'll make you cry as well as make you laugh. It makes you feel great about yourself.
Now, how can your book help someone who may be struggling? How do you address that?
Well, my book shows you a lot of ups and downs in life. A lot of things, the book's going to show a lot of things that happened to me that most people couldn't have bounced back from that. And I was able to do that. And that's what the book is going to tell you, how you can do that. It's going to help you through that. And this book is very valuable when it comes to those kind of situations. It's a book that builds your confidence and your motivation, and then, your hope, and it teaches you to forgive right along the way.
Now, as far as reading the book is concerned, do you suggest that the reader read it from cover to cover, like, they just read simply page after page? Should they read it chapter by chapter or section by section? Or more like a devotional, read a few pages, let that sink in, and then move on? What's your suggestion there?
Well, my book is not a book that you're going to be able to read for the next 2 weeks. You can read the book. It's a very powerful, packed book. It's a compact book. And when you start reading it, you're not going to be able to put it down. You're going to have to read all the way through. You can't put it down, so make time for yourself, because it is true. Everything in it is very true. And it actually happened to me, and it happened the way it was, the way I wrote it. And it's going to, if you have anything that's pending on you that you're trying to make a decision about, you read this book, and you're going to be able to make some decisions, because it's a book that can help you grow as well.
I like that. Now that your book is finished, it is completed and available to the general public. Looking back, did you have a particular chapter that you enjoyed writing more so than another chapter? So let me ask, two sides of the coin. One side, did you have a favorite chapter or a chapter that you really enjoyed writing? Flip side, was there a chapter that you found or a section that you found to be a little harder to write just because it was a tough lesson or it was a very serious moment that you needed to include in the book?
Well, there are several chapters that I enjoy writing because when you're writing a book and things come to you and it comes back to you that are great and you can't wait to get it out of you to the public, you're going to enjoy writing that book. And one chapter in particular would be around the first, chapter 3, when I was talking about my mother and what she did in that chapter. And then there's one that I talked about the fugitives in college, those people in college, and it's a great chapter. Then there's one where I went into to trial for the NFL, and some things happened there, and they were negative, but they all turned out positive in the end. So there's several chapters that I just love reading over and over and over and writing more to it. I could add more to it. So it's just a great book throughout. It's not if you start, you're going to like it all the way through.
Now, I like that you did share those stories and that we're able to grow and learn from your experiences. Now, as far as your future is concerned, many authors will say, Dr. Angela, I have written this one book. This is what I feel God told me to do, and I'm done. Others will say, by no means, I have been bitten by the author bug. I plan on writing until I can't write anymore. Where do you think that you fall within that range? Do you think that you're going to continue writing?
Yes. I've already written in this book. It's already done. All it has to be done is published and put there. I'm doing the final touches on it now. I have the writing bug because I enjoy writing, and I wish I started earlier. I'm a 68-year-old man, 68, and I wish I started early. Maybe I'll be an older man writing more and more. But I have a book already written. All I need to do is publish it. And it's a doozer, just like this one. But you have to read this one before you can get to the next
one. Now, when you were in the process of writing this book, what did you expect to happen? Like, what did you want for the reader to experience having completely read your book?
Well, I want them to believe that, anything that happens for a reason. Everything. And you can learn something from everything that happened in life. I want him to know that, and my book is gonna show you these things as you read it. And everything is going to be going on in life, and you must be able to find the good in everything, just a little bit of good in everything that happened to you in this world.
Well, my last question for you, and that is, I always ask my authors who have written more than one book, especially for any advice that they would give to that young aspiring author out there that may be trying to figure out, do I go on and step out in faith? Do I write this book? Do I hold on to it a little bit longer? What do I do? I'm nervous. So with that being said, what would you say to that nervous, aspiring author out there? Any tips you would give them?
Well, I would say do what I did. I wrote the book. I knew after I finished writing it that I was going to inspire people. That's the kind of book that I did. Now, those people that's writing the book, they're probably going to be like me. Wasn't really sure in the beginning, but as I put the book out there, I would always get feedback from other people. Man, that's a great book. Who inspired you? Why did you do that book? And you told everything that was true. You're telling a true story. And people love that. So I got good rebuttal back on it and confidence from people. So I would like to tell them, go for it. Do what you need to do. Something made you think of writing, so follow your lead. Do the things you need to do. Get that book out there.
Absolutely. Do what you need to do and get that book out there. I love it. I love it. Well, Ernest Young Sr., thank you so much for spending time with me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. But before I let you go, can you please remind everyone of the title of your book, where they can get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
You can, well, first of all, the book Love, Patience, and Admiration Heals All Wounds is a book that you're never going to forget. You're going to share it with the rest of your family and anybody else that you know once you read it. You're not going to ever forget it. You will always be able to find this book on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, xlibris.com, and xlibris is spelled capital X Libris. xlibris.com.
Yes, I love it. Well, Ernest, thank you again for spending time with us here on the program. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. You know what I'd like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about poetry. My guest today is Ronald Voelkel, and we're talking about his book, The Pieces of Me. I know, a great title. Now, you know what I'm going to tell you guys to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Ronald, thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you, Dr. Chester. I'm honored and pleased to be talking to you today.
Absolutely, to you as well. Now, before we talk about your book, as is tradition here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to perhaps the few people out there that are unfamiliar with you or with your book. So first question for you is, what makes you, you?
What makes me me? Well, in my later life, my beloved wife, Bobby, she was the love of my life, and I miss her every day. And one of the many things that she did was to write poetry about events in her life. And that is what I had put together in a book form entitled The Pieces of Me, which is the title of one of her poems. A little about me. I graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1965. I was a naval flight officer. I flew in the A-6 medium attack bomber. And when I left the Navy, I joined employment with the Navy Department, and I supported that aircraft logistically, and also was involved in development of the new model of that aircraft, the A6F. So that's a little about me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you so much for your service. I know that my family is very civic minded. We have a lot of retired military personnel as well. So thank you for your continued efforts to enlighten others, not only retiring but then continue to move on with the Department of the Navy. So thank you so much for your service to country and community. Now, being an author, is that something that you have always wanted? Is that something you've always wanted to do, or did you find that just it presented itself at the right time and was the perfect way for you to express that particular portion of your life?
Well, one of my beloved wife's caregivers took all of her poems and put it into electronic format. And Bobby wanted the poems published, and that's how it came about. After she passed, I searched for a publisher and had the book published.
And I love that you entitled the book "The Pieces of Me" after one of her poems. I love it. I love it. Now, considering that these are poems that are composed by your wife, why do you feel that she wrote in the style of poetry as opposed to any other style?
Well, I'm not that familiar with the different styles of poetry, but that was the style that I guess she was used to and was found out about during her years of education from grammar school through college. And she always wrote about events in her life, and that's every poem that she wrote relates an incident in her life that was near and dear to her.
And I can understand that when you're comfortable writing in whatever the style is, and especially when it comes to poetry, I think that many poets have a particular way that they feel comfortable expressing themselves, and when they do, it turns out to be quite beautiful. So I can understand that she chose what felt right to her spirit, what felt great to her. So I can definitely understand that. Now, do you have a favorite poem of hers? And if so, why is that one your favorite?
Okay, my favorite poem is I Dance in the Morning. That is where she talks about her Parkinson's disease. And that is what took her life, Parkinson's disease. And the name of the poem is I Dance in the Morning. And Bobby always had a very positive attitude. In her office, she had this big sign made up which said, "Don't tell God how big your storm is. Tell your storm how big your God is." And she wouldn't let anything get her down. She also suffered from cancer. and she beat that batch. So she was an amazing lady. And, as I said before, I miss her terribly every day.
Absolutely, and I can understand that. I love how God gives us amazing people in our lifetimes, and though they may not be with us physically, they are forever with us in spirit. They never lose their place in our hearts and minds. My listeners know I talk about my grandmother, and I talk about my dad and all of that, just because they were awesome folk, and it's really hard to not be touched by amazing people. And it sounds like your wife was a pretty awesome woman, so I can definitely understand that. Now, what was her favorite one? Did she ever mention to you which one she really liked the most?
She, not specifically, but I would have to take a guess at, what would be her favorite poem. Now, it wouldn't be The Saddest Day, where she talks about her mother's passing. So in looking at all of her titles, I don't know, but I would guess it is God is Love. And she firmly believed that, and she lived her life to reflect that.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Well, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you please remind everyone what is the title of the book? Where can we get a copy? And how can we get in contact with you for someone who wants to reach out to you?
The Pieces of Me is the title. It can be got online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Westbow Press. And to get in touch with me is basically by email, rvoelkel65@cox.net, and that's, my last name is spelled V as in Victory, Oelkel.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Ronald Voelkel. We're talking about the book, The Pieces of Me. Now, my next question for you is inspiration. By chance, did your wife ever talk about the things that really inspired her to write her poetry? Was she the type of person that she found inspiration in, the sunrise, or in seeing a puppy walk down the street, or the kindness of others? Do you know what inspired her to keep writing?
Well, most of her poems were written after she retired, excuse me, from her work as a computer programmer for the Bank of America. This is one of the activities that she used to keep herself busy. She also noticed that excuse me, there was not a Parkinson's support group that met on the weekend. So she started one, and that grew. She became involved with the local Parkinson's disease association in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And she and I and the board of directors started a Parkinson's walk in April. The first one was held in 2005, and it still continues today. And this is a fundraising event, and she was heavily involved in that. She was the president of the local Parkinson's Disease Association at that time also. So she was a lady that didn't sit down and feel sorry for herself. She looked for opportunities to fight back, especially against Parkinson's, which is a debilitating disease and for which to this day there is no cure.
Yes, yes. I just love the fact that she gave it not only 100%, but she gave it her 110%. And where she saw a need, she was sure to fill that need. I love it. I love it. And it's awesome to be able to talk about someone like that and to be able to inspire others to operate in the same character. I love it. I love it. Now, when it came to putting the book together, in a way that it would be ready for publication for the general public, we have all of the bits and pieces of a book, and there is an acknowledgement section. How did you make the selection of who would write the acknowledgement or who to include for any type of dedication, that portion of the book? How did you make those decisions?
Well, I wrote most of the acknowledgement, but my youngest daughter, Susan, wrote the beginning of it, where it states that Bobby entered this world dancing, etc., etc. And I wanted to mention all of those who helped myself and especially Bobby in the time when her disease was really starting to take a firmer grip on her body. And that is how that came about.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, when it comes to any future writing for so many of the authors that I speak with, they have a desire to continue writing, but some say this is the book that represents my heart, and this is the book that I'm presenting to the world. Do you plan on putting together any works yourself of your own writing for any future endeavors? Or do you have any more poetry to share that belong to Bobby in perhaps, book number next?
No, there are no more poems that Bobby wrote. Depending on the sales of the initial book, The Pieces of Me, I will, if sales go well, I will write or publish a second edition, and this will contain a new section entitled Voelkel Family Stories. And it will just be events that happen, some humorous, some not, in our lives.
I love that. I love that. Now, when it comes to, or when it came to deciding the process of putting your book together, did you know whether or not you wanted to self-publish the book or use a publishing company initially? You know, back when you were still doing the logistics of it all, did you know immediately which choice you wanted to make, or did you have to do research? And how did you come to the conclusion of publishing the way in which you did?
Well, I did do an internet search on publishers, and when I came to the Westbow Press website and gleaned information from them and then called them, they, to me, they met my needs. So, I published through them, and they came through just as they promised, and that is that story, and
yeah. And I asked that question because I know that for so many aspiring authors out there, they're trying to make a determination, for themselves, and how do I do it? The writing part may be easy for them, or, getting the research together may be easy, but making that final decision of, do I do it myself, or do I leave it to the professionals and allow them to do it? Hearing other authors who have already gone through the process, for so many people, it helps them really get steered in the right direction. So thank you for sharing that. Now, choosing the cover design, I know that for some people, they themselves might be an artist. So, of course, they design their own cover. Others say, I left it up to the publishers to suggest something, and I chose from one of their suggestions. Other people fall somewhere in between. I have a vision, and they kind of incorporated my vision into the cover. How did you go about choosing or selecting the cover of the book of poetry?
Well, I wanted a picture of Bobby to appear, and the picture I chose is my favorite picture of her. And when that was taken, she was 28 years old and the mother of 4. And I also wrote, put down a few things, and then the Westbow Press came back and made some suggestions for the write-up underneath the picture, which was very good, and that is how that came about.
It is a very nice cover. I do like what you have suggested there, and it's nice because the pieces of me, and it's very reflective of the various life stages that we go through, and I think it's awesome. Very, very mindful there. I love it. Now, in the trilogy of poems, Sitting by the Sea of the River Road, why was the husband portrayed as a fisherman and not as a sailor? Since you are a naval officer, someone may be wondering. So let me pose that question to you.
Well, that's a very good question, and I don't really have an answer because I never discussed that with Bobby. Although the things that she expresses in the poem were exactly the things that she felt when I left on deployment. And when she mentions about the baby stirring in her womb, that was our third child, Matthew, who was doing that. And my homecomings were twice by sea aboard the carrier USS Independence, and the other ones were by aircraft flying into Naval Air Station Oceana. So she expressed those in her way of doing, and things were her feelings and everything were genuine, and that's exactly how she felt when I went away on deployment and when I came back.
Mm-hmm. And I could just imagine, of course not putting words in her mouth, but I could imagine choosing a fisherman would even include many of our wives who live on the coast, whose husbands do go away, and they may not be in the Navy, but they simply go off on their boat, and you do worry about them. No matter why they're leaving or how they're leaving, you do, pray for safe return for them to come back, be it that they're coming back at the end of the day in 90 days or the end of, a typical tour. So I can understand, that maybe she was trying to include as many people in there, as she could. So I love it. Now, listeners, you guys know that I grew up in the Hampton Roads area. So I can definitely relate. We have sent off many a loved one, many of friends, and it is always a sad but proud day when your loved one or friend leaves. It is joyous when they return. So I can definitely understand the poems that she shares in the book, The Pieces of Me. Well, Ronald Voelkel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this beautiful book with my listeners today. One last time before I let you go, could you remind everyone of the title of the book? Where can we get a copy? And of course, anyone who wants to reach out to you, how should they do that?
The title is The Pieces of Me. It's available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Westbow Press. And my email address is rvoelkel, that's V as in Victory, OELKEL 65 at cox.net.
Well, thank you again for being a guest on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up about music. Now, I am definitely a praise and worshiper, and I love music and all that it can do. So I'm so excited to have this guest on today. Her name is Freddye Stover, and we're talking about her music project, Wade in the Water. She is back to the Bible. She's bringing the blues back to the pews. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do? You better go on and get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Freddye. Thank you so much for being on Daily Spark today.
Oh, thank you. Good morning to you, Dr. Angela. I appreciate it. How are you?
I love it. Thank you. I am always ask everyone to tell us just a little bit about who they are, what makes you you.
Well, my stage name is Miss Freddye, Freddye, and I've been doing what I've been doing for 25 years. And I'm a mom, I'm a nurse, and I'm a blues singer who is going back to her roots gospel. And I have two bands, and I am just that. I am just me. I'm this mom who loves to sing to the kids. They're adults now, so there's a different appreciation for that. But I love what I do. When they were little, I could get away with it. Now I can't get away with it so much. But there's a new appreciation for what I do because the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people have been asking me, "Hey, Miss Freddye, do you do gospel?" And I say, "Yeah, I do. I know gospel. I grew up in the church singing, and so I've been trying to add some gospel songs to my blues repertoire, which I think they go hand in hand. It's just that when you're doing gospel, you're singing about your faith,
Right.
So, and so I turned to doing a little bit more gospel now, the last few months. And with the release of my new single, Wade in the Water, thanks to, Mike Morgan from Ohio, Jay Bernali in Tennessee, and Kim Parent doing the backup vocals, we were able to bring that to life. And especially in these times, because I'm the type of person, I show a lot of empathy. I meet people, and somebody always comes up to me after a show. One or maybe more than one, but at least one person, every single show I noticed this for the last 2 years, will come up and say that one song you sang, or, the way you presented, the music that you do, I can relate to that, or I feel good about it. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Now, do you think that having been from Pittsburgh, that has any influence over your music? There are certain just regions of our great nation here that produce so many people that are in the music industry. Do you think that has some influence over your music as well?
Oh, absolutely. When I started traveling outside of Pittsburgh and then outside of Pennsylvania, and when people find out, where I'm at, and, they tell me, "Oh, Pittsburghers don't know anything about blues." And I said, "Really? Are you sure about that?" And they're like, and I think some of them have teased me for the most part. And I laughed and I said, "Well, guess what? You just met a blues singer from Pittsburgh." I said, "But I can give you a list of famous musicians who came out of Pittsburgh." I said, "We know blues." And that's my big influence because Pittsburgh is a very cultural city with the music industry. I absolutely love my city. And you have fans, you have people, you have the music culture uh, supporting musicians such as myself who want to get out there and who keep going on and who appreciate the support. So, yeah, that kind of answers it in a nutshell. I always want to make my city a music city. It already is, but I want to keep adding that flavor of what I do to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can understand that. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your current project, Wade in the Water? What brought you to that oldie but goodie song, and how has the response been so far?
Well, I can tell you, a friend of mine out of Ohio, Mike Morgan, he actually approached me a few months back, the early part of the summer. He got my name from a promoter out of Ohio who knew of me. Mike was looking for a blues singer who could bring, back that gospel roots, finding an old spiritual. And so Mike and I had a conversation, and, at first I thought I was just going to do, pick a song and it'll be part of his CD project. Well, that wasn't it. He wanted me to sing the song, release it as a single, and it would feature me. And I was floored and I was happy at the same time, because that's not what I expected, but I was okay with it. Mm-hmm. And Mike works with this guy out of Nashville named Jay Vernali. And Jay put that Hammond B3 and that, that piano sound down on that Wade in the Water. And then they brought in Kim Parent. I mean, her vocals are phenomenal. I would love to work with her again. She did the backup vocals. People thought I was singing with a choir. And for a long time since that came out, I let people think that. And I said, no, that's one person. She's just very good at what she does. And I've been getting very positive, wonderful, supportive responses. You'd be surprised. And I've played it out with both of my bands. And people they love it. They love the fact that Miss Freddye is finally doing the gospel. She said she does. And, we know we're going to hear more. It's just a matter of when. And Wade in the Water, I chose that song because I remember singing it in church as a kid. And I didn't know the meaning behind it until I got older. And I chose it this time around because of, what we're going through in the world today. It just kind of tears my heart. And, I want to give people hope. Me being who I am, I work as a nurse. Me seeing day-to-day things in this world and paying attention and listening to people, listening to their sorrow, listening to their happiness, whatever makes them tick. So that's why I chose Wade in the Water.
Thank you so much again, Miss Freddye, for coming on and spending time with us here on Daily Spark. But before I let you go, can you remind everyone of the name of your current project, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Angela. I appreciate it, and thank you for your support, everybody. You can look me up. You can go to my website, missfreddye.com. Check out Wade in the Water on YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Apple Music. Thank you so much. And Dr. Angela, you are the second person I'm going to tell this to. I'm getting ready to work on another single.
That is amazing. Well, we will definitely have to have you back on. Alrighty, everyone, now you know where you can get this music project.
And thank you for spending time with us as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone.